Okay, so create next step. Created already generated our project. So we can go to the project with cd text up for you. Okay, so let's go to VS Code. Okay. So okay, well, let's as you can see, Next.js already builds our project, and we have our node modules, our public folder, and we also have a source directory, right? So every other files are similar to React. We have our package.json where we have our dependencies installed. We have our script tags. We can write our manual scripts to run our projects better. Okay. So we also have a next config file. So we are going to edit our next config file later, and we have our jsconfig. So you do not need to worry about any of these files. So Next.js uses these files to build your project. And we also have a gitignore file. Next.js already by default gives us a gitignore file, and we have a eslint file, right? So eslint will help us find any bugs or any errors in our code before we go to our client or our web application. And if we enter our web source directory, we have styles, and we also have a pages folder, right? So in Next.js, you do not have to manage all the routes manually like with React. So it uses a folder based routing system. That means in your pages router, everything you enter in your pages router as a folder will be a new route. That means you have to be careful about naming your folders. You do not want to change the name of any of these folders or move any of these files or folders anywhere else. That will mess up your application. So okay, so if we want to run our application now, right? So let's see what this happens right off the box. So we have our skip tab. To run our project in development mode, we have to enter npm run dev. Okay. Okay, it gives us a warning that Console Ninja is not available with version 14. So I'm using Console Ninja, a VS Code extension to show everything in the VS Code and consoles in the VS Code. So if you do not have that, don't worry about it. So it is running on our port 3000. So let's go to our application. Let's see what we got. Okay. So depending on your device, Next.js applications might take uh, a few moments or more time to build than React projects. So these are very fast on your deployed application, but when you are using in development mode, they might consume some memory of your application of your PC. Okay, so this is what we got from our web applications. We have a well-designed page. So we're actually not going to change anything. So how do we change anything or make changes to our application, right? So if we go to our folder structure again, inside our pages, we have a app.js file, right? So this app.js file actually controls everything you render, all of the pages and everything you render here. It is controlled by app.js. So as you can see, we are taking the component parameter and we are returning everything. So everything you render, your page props will be rendered inside this component, inside the app.js file. So do not change any of these files, do not change the name or do not change anything in those files or touch anything. It will mess up your application. So then we have our document.js file, and we have our index.js file. Okay, so this is the application, right? So if we go to our application again, so this is the home page, right? So this is the pages folder, the actual pages folder. We do not have any folders or any routes right now. So inside our pages folder, we have index.js file, right? So this is what is rendered in our UI. So if we want to make a different route, like we want to create a, let's say, blocks route. Okay, so in our case, let's say product route. Okay. Okay, so this is a product route and it gives us a error. It also gives us a built-in error page that says 404, this page cannot be found. So how do we create a folder, or how do we handle the routing in Next.js, right? Okay. So if we want to create a new route, we have to enter create a new folder inside pages. Let's say product. So you have to be careful about naming the folder. So whatever you name here, this will be name your folder will be your route. That means if you name your folder product, this will be your route. So okay, so let's say we have already created a route, right? So okay, let's go back to our UI and let's see what happens if we reload. Okay, so now it gives us the same error, right? But as you can see, we have created a route or a folder inside our pages, but it gives us an error. So to count this as a page, this folder has to have a index.js file, right? You cannot name it anything else, page.js or product.js. You cannot name any of those. You have to name it index.js. Okay, that is the syntax of Next.js. Okay, so inside our product we have index.js file, right? So let's render a React component here. I'm using an extension to render that. So as you can see, we are actually rendering a React component, right? A regular React component. Okay, so let's now see what happens. Let's go back to our UI and reload again. Okay, now we have our page and we have our index file, right? Okay, great. So inside our product, you saw that in React you used dynamic routes, right? So you want to inside your product page you want to enter a dynamic route with your products ID, right? So if you want to create a dynamic route, how do you do that? Let's say 23, right? So this also gives us an error. So to create a dynamic route, you have to inside your product you have to create another folder. That means this will be a nested route. So your web page will come to pages, product, and then you have your nested routes or dynamic routes. So to create dynamic route, the naming convention of your folder will be different. You have to give it a third bracket, then let's say id.js. Okay. So inside that we have to create another index.js file to make it a actually page, right? So let's render a React component from here because we have to return something. Let's say dynamic. Uh, what am I doing? Okay, let's say dynamic route. Okay, so let's go back and reload again. Okay, so we have an error. All right, we also have an error. Let's see what we did wrong here. Okay. All right.